Namarata, can you come here 1 minute, please? I forgot to give you, this is a signed document. Okay, so we're talking about Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse number 3. Yomam majam anadim cha veti loka maheshwaram asamudaha samartyesu sarvapapai pramuchyate. So this verse says, he who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only, undiluted among men, is freed from all sins. So this is Krishna speaking about himself. Basically, all Vedic literature, whether it's the original 4 Vedas, or the Upanishads, or the Puranas, or the Mahabharata, or the Vedanta Sutra, or especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, aim toward understanding who is Krishna. And when you try and understand who is Krishna, you also have to understand the his expansions in the spiritual world, his expansions into the material world, the material energy itself, and all living entities. So it's all-encompassing knowledge. And therefore, one becomes very cautious about what they do, knowing that there is absolute truth. That's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are answerable to him. And we also come from Krishna, so we have an eternal soul. And therefore, we have 2 choices to make. Either we follow Krishna's instructions, or we don't. Either way, Krishna knows what happens to us. If we follow his instructions, we eventually go back to Godhead, and back to eternal life in the spiritual world. If we don't follow his instructions, we could stay eternally, birth after birth, in the material world. So that's the substance of, or that's the summary of the destiny of every person. Because our soul is eternal, either we could stay eternally in the material world, going through myriad numbers of births and deaths, or we can go back to the spiritual world and be eternally related to Krishna and other eternally liberated souls that are having transcendental pastimes with the Lord. So the explanation of this verse, or the commentary to this verse, follows. As stated in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 3, Manusyanam sahasresu kaschit jatati siddhaye jatatam apisiddhanam kaschit mam vititattvataha. Those who are trying to elevate themselves to the platform of spiritual realization are not ordinary men. They are superior to millions and millions of ordinary men who have no knowledge of spiritual realization. But out of those actually trying to understand their spiritual situation, one who can come to the understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the proprietor of everything, the unborn, is the most successful spiritually realized person. In that stage only, when one has fully understood Krishna's supreme position, one can be free completely from all sinful reactions. So, there's another verse in the 4th chapter, and that's the 9th verse. It says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yot veti tatvata tyakva deham punarjanma naitimam eti sarjuna, which says, anyone who knows the yes, 4th chapter, 9th verse. Anyone who knows the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take birth again, but comes back to the Lord, to his eternal abode. So Krishna speaks this verse to Arjuna. So this gives you an idea of how powerful knowledge of Krishna is. It can liberate one from the cycle of birth and death, from all suffering in the material world, and one can have a highly productive life, a peaceful life, and a happy life, and at the end go back to Godhead. And therefore it says that, we just read, that those who actually try to understand their spiritual situation and come to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the proprietor of everything, the unborn, is the most successful spiritually realized person. In that stage only, when one has fully understood Krishna's supreme position, can one be free completely from all sinful reactions. Well, to be free of all sinful reactions means that you are liberated even in this world, because we suffer due to committing sinful actions. And most people don't even know what is sinful and what is not sinful. So Krishna explains that there are 4 pillars of sinful activity, and they are meat eating, gambling, and intoxication, and illicit activities outside of marriage. Those are the 4 pillars of sinful activity. So this commentary continues. Here the Lord is described by the word aja, meaning unborn. But he is distinct from the living entities who are described in the 2nd chapter as aja. The Lord is different from the living entities who are taking birth and dying due to material attachment. The conditioned souls are changing their bodies, but his body, or the Lord's body, is not changeable. Even when he comes to this material world, he comes as the same unborn. Therefore, in the 4th chapter, it is said that the Lord, by his internal potency, is not under the inferior material energy, but is always in the superior energy. That means that Krishna is always situated in his eternal body, and he's not subject to the laws of material nature, to the 3 modes of material nature, to the law of karma, and time, and etc. Now we are in that situation too, but presently out of ignorance, we identify with the temporary body, and we are ignorant of our spiritual existence. Therefore, we suffer unnecessarily. Birth, death, old age, and disease. Birth, death, old age, and disease is only in relationship to the material body, but we are the soul, the eternal soul that's animating the body with energy. As soon as the soul leaves the body is basically dead meat. It has no consciousness and no movement. But to understand the difference between the body and the soul, one requires spiritual instruction and spiritual training. In this verse, the words Veti Loka Maheshwaram indicate that one should know that Lord Krishna is the supreme proprietor of the planetary systems of the universe. He was existing before the creation, and he is different from his creation. All the demigods were created within this material world, but as far as Krishna is concerned, it is said that he is not created. Therefore, Krishna is different even from the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva. And because he is the creator of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods, he is the supreme person of all planets. Sri Krishna is therefore different from everything that is created, and anyone who knows him as such immediately becomes liberated from all sinful reactions. One must be liberated from all sinful activities to be in the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Only by devotional service can he be known, and not by any other means, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. So, therefore, by engaging in devotional service, just coming to the temple is devotional service, but in the temple, chanting Hare Krishna, offering your food first to Krishna, and then receiving it back as his prasad, and it should be made according to Krishna's instructions. He doesn't eat meat, fish, eggs, doesn't drink coffee, tea, liquor, and so forth. So one has to be very sattvic, or only eat food in the mode of goodness, and offer it before you eat with love and devotion to the Lord. Then he offers it back as his prasad or his mercy. So there is a fundamental difference between Krishna and the Devatas, such as Brahma, Shiva, Durga Mata, Varuna, Chandra, and so forth. They have all been like you and me. They come into existence or birth, born in a material body. Krishna's body is spiritual and never deteriorates. It's not subject to old age, disease, death. And we also have a spiritual body, but for the time being, out of ignorance, it's covered over by this material body, and therefore we mistakenly identify ourselves with the material body. Sri Krishna is therefore different from everything that is created, and anyone who knows him as such immediately becomes liberated from all sinful reactions. One must be liberated from all sinful activities to be in the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Only by devotional service can he be known, and not by any other means, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. So there's another verse in Bhagavad Gita. It's in the 7th chapter. And Yesam Twantakatam Papam Jananam Punyakarmanam Te Dvandva Muhamnir Mukta Bhajanti Mam Dhritarvataha. 28th verse of the 7th chapter, which says, those persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So this verse shows that one must be completely free of all sinful activities and even sinful desires. And the way to do that is to be engaged always in devotional service, in bhakti yoga, with determination. And it says, those eligible for elevation to the transcendental position are mentioned in this verse. For those who are sinful, atheistic, foolish, and deceitful, it is very difficult to transcend the duality of desire and hate. Only those who have passed their lives in practicing the regulative principles of religion, who have acted piously, and who have conquered sinful reactions, can accept devotional service and gradually rise to the pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, there are 4 do's and 4 don'ts in Krishna consciousness. The 4 don'ts are no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit activities outside of marriage. And the do's are always chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, the sacred mantra called the Maha Mantra. Always hear Bhagavad Gita as we're hearing it right now, spoken by genuine devotees, and always offer your food to Krishna before eating, and wait for him to eat, and then he'll offer it back as his prasad. And then regularly come to the temple and engage in acts of unselfish devotion to the Lord. If you follow these 4 do's and 4 don'ts, you will gradually become transcendental to the modes of material nature. You will give up all sinful activities, and by Krishna's mercy, you'll be able to understand who you are in reality, what your relationship with God is, and what your primary duty is in life. So one rises gradually to pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then gradually the person can meditate in trance on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the process of being situated on the spiritual platform. This elevation is possible in Krishna consciousness, in the association of pure devotees. For in the association of great devotees, one can be delivered from delusion. Delusion comes after illusion. Illusion is you believe something to be true that was never true. And when you act on that illusory concept in your mind, you're in a state of delusion. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 5th chapter, 2nd verse, that if one actually wants to be liberated, he or she must render service to the devotees. Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimukte. But one who associates with materialistic people is on the path leading to the darkest region of existence. Tamodwaram yositam sangi sangam. All the devotees of the Lord traverse this earth just to recover the conditioned souls from their delusion. The impersonalists do not know that forgetting their constitutional position as subordinate to the Supreme Lord is the greatest violation of God's law. Unless one is reinstated in his own constitutional position, it is not possible to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead or to be fully engaged in his transcendental loving service with determination. So what is our constitutional position? What does it mean, constitutional position? That means our eternal position. Even before we were born in this body, and after we leave this body. What is our eternal position? It's called Swarup, or Nitya Swarup. Jivera, Lord Chaitanya says in Bengali, he says, Jivera Swarupa Haya Krishnera Nityadas. So, what is the position, Jivera Swarupa Haya? What is the position of the jiva, the eternal soul of the individual? Krishnera Nityadas, he is the eternal servant of Krishna. So when we come to that understanding that my real position is to serve God. Now, right now, we're serving ourselves, we're serving family, we're serving country, we're serving team leaders, we're serving CEOs, and so forth. But when we decide to serve Krishna, that defines who we are. All those other services define who we are temporarily. I'm the employee of such and such a company. My father's family is such and such. My family is this and that. And I'm a citizen of this country, and so forth. These are all temporary designations. But when we identify ourselves as the eternal servant of Krishna, that's who we are, constitutionally. Okay? And then when we engage in that service, then sarva papai pramuchyata, we become free of all sinful reactions, and we transcend the influence of the material nature on our body and mind. Otherwise, we are basically puppets in the hands of the material nature, because we're being forced to do things. We're forced to be born, we're forced to get old, we're forced to get sick, we're forced to die, we're forced to take birth again. But when we understand our relationship with Krishna, we transcend this terrible predicament of repeated birth and death. Okay, so then it says, one should not try to understand Krishna as a human being. As stated previously, only a foolish person thinks Krishna to be a human being. This is again expressed here in a different way. A man who is not foolish, who is intelligent enough to understand the constitutional position of the Godhead, is always free from all sinful reactions. So the materialistic and atheistic people always try to materialize God. If there is a God, he's someone maybe a little bit more intelligent than we are. But we can also be a God if we do some yoga, if we study some Vedas, or if we become very good at computer technology. We can also become a God. See? So that type of foolish thinking keeps a person very far away from achieving the goal of life, which is total liberation from the cycle of birth and death and going back to the spiritual world. They basically get dumbed down by such false information. If Krishna is known as the son of Devaki, then how can he be unborn? That is also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. When he appeared before Devaki and Vasudeva, he was not born as an ordinary child. He appeared in his original form, and then he transformed himself into an ordinary child. Well, this, of course, if you know the history, when he, first of all, he was not born from seminal discharge. He appeared seemingly as a child of Vasudeva and Devaki, but he appeared in his four-armed form as Narayana. Even though he was a little baby, but he had 4 arms and all the opulences of Narayana. But then Devaki prayed, please Krishna, or please my Lord, Kamsa is going to come now. You already killed 6 of our children, and you're the 8th child, and it's prophesied that you will kill him. Please don't appear in your form as Narayana, because then he'll think you are actually God, and he'll kill you. Please look like an ordinary child. So Krishna satisfied Devaki by appearing as if he was an ordinary child with 2 arms. But that is his original form as Krishna. And that's why it says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvata. One who understands the transcendental and mysterious nature of Krishna's appearance and activities, janma and karma, does not after death take birth again, but comes back to me. So it requires patience and careful listening to bona fide devotees to understand the mysterious nature and transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and pastimes. Anything done under the direction of Krishna is transcendental. It cannot be contaminated by material reactions, which may be auspicious or inauspicious. The conception that there are things auspicious and inauspicious in the material world is more or less a mental concoction, because there is nothing auspicious in the material world. Everything is inauspicious because the very material nature is inauspicious. We simply imagine it to be auspicious. Well, yes, like for example, what we consider happiness is not real happiness. It's simply the temporary relief from suffering. Real happiness is eternally sustainable. It doesn't come and go. And that is what we actually desire. We want to be always happy. But it's not possible while we have material attachments. And we're striving always to dominate and enjoy the material nature or people. Therefore, we're always in severe competition with others. And it's not possible to be happy all the time. But our desire is to be happy all the time. So the only way to achieve that state of unalterable happiness is by surrendering to Krishna and serving him with love and devotion. Nothing can interrupt that love and devotion. But when we work with a profit incentive, then we get entangled in the material nature, and there are reactions, and there's competition, and there's love, and there's hate, and there's happiness and distress, and all the different dualities of life. Therefore, nothing is actually auspicious in the material world, although people try and differentiate between this is auspicious, this is inauspicious, this is good, this is bad. But it's all bad, because whether we perform pious activities for material benefit or impious activities for material benefit, both of those types of activities keep us entangled by the laws of material nature in the cycle of birth and death. So, if we perform pious activities, then we'll be elevated to heavenly planets where the duration of life is longer and the sense gratification is much better. But when the effect of our pious activities are used up, we again come back to the earth or even lower, and in the cycle of birth and death. So it's not actually auspicious acting piously for material benefit. It's actually inauspicious. And then if we act sinfully all the time, then we go to the lower planetary systems where there's much more suffering and much more distress. Therefore, if we at all want our activities to be auspicious, then we should work under the directions of the Supreme Lord. Now that is a very important point, because let's say you buy a new cell phone, or you buy a refrigerator, or whatever, any new gadget. There's also a book of instructions that comes along with it. And if you want to get maximum use of that cell phone or refrigerator or television or whatever, you have to read the book of instructions. And if you follow the instructions properly, you'll get maximum use of that gadget or machine. Well, there is a book of instructions for life. It's called Bhagavad Gita, and how to live a successful life so that during life you're happy and peaceful, and when you die, you go back to the spiritual world with a spiritual body, and then there's no possibility of coming back again to the material world. So if we ignore the instruction book, like let's say you're sick, you go to the doctor, and he gives you medicine, and he gives you a diet, and he says, just follow this, you'll be okay. And you pay him, and then you come home, and you throw away the medicine, and you throw away the instructions, and you ignore them. See? So that would be most unfortunate if you act like that. And the same way, here we have this body, and it's like a prison house of our soul in the material world where there's dualities, where there are dualities and competition and love and hate. And here's the book of instruction, how to navigate through all of that and go back to Godhead, be liberated eternally, and we ignore it. It's like throwing away the medicine and the instructions that we got from the doctor. It's not an intelligent thing to do. And therefore, people do not actually live a progressive life. They are basically distracted by temporary things, and they ignore the eternal pursuit of the truth and to attain love of God. So such directions of Krishna are given in authoritative scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, or from a bona fide spiritual master, because the spiritual master is the representative of the Supreme Lord. His direction is directly the direction of the Supreme Lord. The spiritual master, saintly persons, and scriptures direct in the same way. There is no contradiction in these three sources. All actions done under such direction are free from the reactions of pious or impious activities of this material world. Well, our problem is that we have lived many previous lives, and from those lives there are good and bad karmic reactions that we have accrued. And we don't know what they are until they actually happen. And they do happen all the time. Sometimes you're very fortunate, and sometimes there is misfortune. Everyone's life is like that, whether they're the richest person in the world or the poorest person in the world. Sometimes there are happy times, sometimes there are devastatingly miserable experiences in life. So the one thing that is unique about serving Krishna is that he liberates us from our previous karma. That is probably the most precious gift we could ever have. Why? Because one cannot actually engage in Krishna's service as long as they have a karmic debt. And there's only one thing in the entire creation that is not subject to karma, and that is surrender to Krishna. If surrender to Krishna was subject to karma, then we'd be in trouble, all of us. But surrender to Krishna is never regulated by the law of karma. Anyone, the worst person in the world to the best person, can surrender to the Lord at any time. And this was proven in the history of Lord Ramachandra when Vibhishan left his brother Ravana and came to Lord Ramachandra. Even though Vibhishan is the brother of Ravana, he's a Rakshasa by birth, but Rama accepted him because Vibhishan surrendered to him. And therefore Krishna says also in Bhagavad Gita, Daivihi esa gunamayi mama maya duradhyaya mam evaye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. O Arjuna, this material energy, which he calls gunamayi, my material energy, is impossible to overcome. You cannot overcome it. Use any strategy you want, science, philosophy, or austerity, whatever you want. You're not going to overcome it. But if you surrender to me, you will easily overcome the material energy. So this surrendering, mam evaye prapadyante, maya metam tarantite, or sarvadharmam parityaja mamikam saranam vraja ham tvam sarvapapebhyo moksisyami ma suchaha. O Arjuna, give up all your ideas about this dharma or that dharma and just surrender unto me, sharanam. If you do this, I promise to free you from all sinful reactions, and thus you have nothing to fear, nothing to hesitate for, and nothing to doubt. So this is the ultimate instruction of Krishna, that we can overcome all the obstacles of karma, of good and bad karma, of time, and of the three modes of material nature, birth, death, old age, and disease, of the three types of miseries. Misery is caused by this body, misery is caused by other bodies, misery is caused by natural cataclysmic events, etc., simply by surrendering to the Lord. And what is surrendering? Sharanam. It's very simple. One accepts everything favorable for devotional service to the Lord. And two, one rejects everything unfavorable. And three, one accepts only Krishna as his protector. And number four, one sees everything that happens, good or bad, as the mercy of the Lord. And number five, one has no separate goal or interest in life except to please the Lord. And number six, one remains always humble and meek in the execution of devotional service. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjana raksisya titi vishwaso goptritve varanam tata atmanikshepa karpanya sadvida saranagati. So this saranagati, or surrender to the Lord, has these six components or six qualities associated with it. And it says, according to the devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principles that will lead ultimately to the devotional service of the Lord. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in the social order, but if by executing his duty one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. One should be confident that in all circumstances Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. There is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. One should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes freed from all contamination of material nature. There are different processes of religion and purificatory processes by cultivation of knowledge, meditation, and a mystic yoga system, etc. But one who surrenders unto Krishna does not have to execute so many methods. That simple surrender unto Krishna will save him from unnecessarily wasting time. One can thus make all progress at once and be freed from all sinful reactions. So, this Sharanagati or Sharanam is the ultimate decision we have to make in our life. But it shouldn't be Sharanam or surrender to alcohol or drugs or money or sense gratification or politics. It should be Sharanam or surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Then we are freed from our previous karma, and one must be freed from previous karma in order to engage in the service of the Lord. And then it says, this is in the 18th chapter, 66th verse, one should be attracted by the beautiful vision of Krishna. Well, we're seeing Krishna right now, Radha and Krishna together. It is a beautiful vision. The Lord is extremely attractive, and especially also Srimati Radharani, who's the Lord's eternal consort. So it says there are different kinds of transcendentalists. One who becomes attracted by the beautiful, all-powerful, omnipotent vision of Krishna is fortunate. There are different kinds of transcendentalists. Some of them are attracted to the impersonal Brahman vision. Some of them are attracted by the super soul feature, etc. But one who is attracted to the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and above all, one who is attracted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna himself, is the most perfect transcendentalist. In other words, devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness is the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Karma yogis, empiric philosophers, mystics, and devotees are all called transcendentalists, but one who is a pure devotee is the best of all. The particular words used here is ma sucha. Don't fear, don't hesitate, don't worry, are very significant. One may be perplexed as to how one can give up all kinds of religious forms and simply surrender unto Krishna, but such worry is useless. So, this is the ultimate purpose of Bhagavad Gita, is not only to know Krishna, but to actually surrender to the Lord and engage in his service without any material motive. And therefore it said in the 6th chapter, 47th verse, Yoginam api sarve sam madgatanantaratmana shadavam bhajate yomam same yukta tamo matak. Krishna says, of all the yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, in other words, always engaged in his service, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all yogis. That is my opinion. So what's interesting is that Arjuna is the number one yogi, but he never engaged in any asanas, pranayama, dharana, dhyana, none of the physical yoga exercises, such as in hatha yoga or astanga yoga. what did he do? He surrendered to Krishna. That's the highest yoga. Surrendering to the Lord and engaging in his service without any material motive, simply to please the Lord out of love and devotion. Therefore it says here that Shraddhavam bhajate yomam same yuktatomo matak. This word bhajate is very important. Bhajate has its root in the verb bhaj, which is used when there is need of service. The English word worship cannot be used in the same sense as bhaj. Worship means to adore or to show respect and honor to the worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you see, English is not as precise and perfect as Sanskrit. For example, in Sanskrit, there are many words for love. In English, there's only one word, love. So it could be material love, or it could be spiritual love. You don't really know unless you read the context. But in Sanskrit, pure love for Krishna is prema. But you wouldn't use prema for an ordinary person. You would only use it when you speak about Krishna. And the same way, when you speak about serving Krishna with love and devotion, you have to use the word bhaj or bhajate. There's no other, there might be other words for serving mundane persons, mundane goals, but pure devotional service is expressed only with this word bhaj or bhajate. Worship means to adore, to show respect and honor to the worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can avoid worshiping a respectable man or a demigod and may be called discourteous, but one cannot avoid serving the Supreme Lord without being thoroughly condemned. Every living entity is intended to serve the Supreme Lord by his own constitution. Failing to do so, he falls down. The Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 5th chapter, 3rd verse, confirms this as follows. Ya esam purusham shakshad atma prabhavan ishwaram na bhajanti avajananti stanad brastaha patantyadha. Anyone who does not render service and neglects his duty unto the primeval Lord, who is the source of all living entities, will certainly fall down from his constitutional position. This is 6th chapter, 47th verse. In this verse also the word bhajanti is used. Therefore bhajanti is applicable to the Supreme Lord only, whereas the word worship can be applied to demigods or any other common living entity. The word avajananti, used in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, is also found in the Bhagavad Gita. Avajananti mam mudha. Only the fools and rascals deride or criticize or make fun of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Such fools take it upon themselves to write commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita without an attitude of service to the Lord. Consequently, they cannot properly distinguish between the word bhajanti and the word worship. The culmination of all kinds of yoga practices lies in bhakti yoga. All other yogas are but means to come to the point of bhakti in bhakti yoga. Yoga actually means bhakti yoga. All other yogas are progressions toward the destination of bhakti yoga. From the beginning of karma yoga to the end of bhakti yoga is a long way to self-realization. Karma yoga without fruitive results is the beginning of this path. When karma yoga increases in knowledge and renunciation, the stage is called jnana yoga. When jnana yoga increases in meditation on the super soul, Paramatma, by different physical processes, and the mind is on him, it is called Astanga yoga. And when one surpasses the Astanga yoga and comes to the point of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, it is called Bhakti Yoga, the culmination. Factually, Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal, but to analyze Bhakti Yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas. The yogi who is progressive is therefore on the true path of eternal good fortune. One who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called by that particular name: Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, or Dhyana Yogi, or Raja Yogi, or Hatha Yogi, etc. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, it is to be understood that he has surpassed all the other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna conscious is the highest stage of yoga, just as when we speak of Himalayan, or the Himalayas, we refer to the world's highest mountains, of which the highest peak is Mount Everest, and is considered to be the culmination. It is by great fortune that one comes to Krishna consciousness on the path of Bhakti Yoga to become well situated according to the Vedic direction. The ideal yogi concentrates his attention on Krishna, who is called Sham Sundara, who is as beautifully colored as a cloud, whose lotus-like face is as effulgent as the sun, whose dress is brilliant with jewels, and whose body is flower garlanded. Well, you're seeing it right now. You're seeing Krishna right now. This is a description of what you're seeing. Illuminating all sides is his gorgeous luster, which is called Brahmajyoti. He incarnates in different forms such as Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he descends like a human being as the son of Mother Yasoda, and he is known as Krishna, Govinda, and Vasudeva. He is the perfect child, husband, friend, and master, and he is full with all opulences and transcendental qualities. If one remains fully conscious of these features of the Lord, he is called the highest yogi. This stage of highest perfection in yoga can be attained only by Bhakti Yoga as confirmed in all Vedic literature. Yasya Devi Para Bhaktir Yata Devi Tata Kuru Taisyaite Katita Hiartak Prakasante Mahatmanaha. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. This is from the Sritasvatara Upanishad 6.23. Bhaktir asya bhajanam tad ihamutro bhadi nairas yena musmin manaha kalpanam etad eva naiskarmyam. Bhakti means devotional service to the Lord, which is free from desire for material profit, either in this life or in the next. Devoid of such inclinations, one should fully absorb the mind in the Supreme. That is the purpose of nice karma, or pure devotional service without any material motive. This is from the Gopala Upanishad 1.15. These are some of the means for performance of bhakti or Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of the yoga system. So, now we have a clear idea of the value of becoming Krishna conscious. Then it's said that because the spiritual master is the representative of the Supreme Lord, we're back to 10th chapter, verse number 3, in the last paragraph. Because the spiritual master is the representative of the Supreme Lord, his direction is directly the direction of the Supreme Lord. The spiritual master, saintly persons, and scriptures direct in the same way. There is no contradiction in these three sources. All actions done under such directions are free from the reactions of pious or impious activities of this material world. The transcendental attitude of the devotee in the performance of activities is actually that of renunciation, and this is called sannyasa. As stated in the first verse of the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, one who acts as a matter of duty because he has been ordered to do so by the Supreme Lord, and who does not seek shelter in the fruits of his activities, anastrita karma phalam, is a true renouncer. Anyone acting under the direction of the Supreme Lord is actually a sannyasi and a yogi, and not the person who has simply taken the dress of the sannyasi or pseudo-yogi. So, This is a very important verse. First chapter, the first verse of the 6th chapter, which says, "Anasrita karma phalam, karyam karma." Karyam karma. Karotiya sasanyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriha. The Supreme Personality Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obliged is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. So, this is a explanation of this verse today, and it says, anyone acting under the direction of the Supreme Lord is actually a sannyasi and a yogi, and not the man who has simply taken the dress of the sannyasi or pseudo-yogi. Jai Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Grantaraj ki jai. Are there any questions? Karma phalam karyam karma karotiya sasanyasi sayogi cha na niragni na chakriya. What's that? Yes. Well, you're obliged by the order of the spiritual master, right? Just like Arjuna was obliged by the order of Krishna, who he accepted as his spiritual master. Yes.
So by taking shelter of them, the obligation is made clear.
Yeah. Yes, exactly right. Yes. Purpose of life. Purpose of renunciation. Same place of residence. Wow. So, Tyaga, Sannyasa, renunciation. Renunciation is Jai Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai. Huh?